I work at a cafe that hosts talent nights for musicians and comedians to perform. It's a pretty easy living considering I'm just a barista and I spend most of my time messing around with my friends at work. It was a really needed pace of change and I still think it was a great decision. I guess the way I could describe how this entire fiasco went down was when one of the musicians who came to perform often had started to really open up for the staff. He was kind of a nobody for the past shows we've done. If I had to describe him, his guitar made him more noise than he did. Maybe it's because I've always really had a thing for people who are into art, but I started to really googly eye at him. It was a little awkward for the first few times we tried to sit down, but he grew on me. There wasn't anything really wrong with him. He was nice, kind of shy. I would even consider that we were really into each other at one point, but we just didn't really want to acknowledge it in words. We'll call him the guitar guy. I don't remember exactly how I landed up at his front door, but it was late, and I wasn't in any shape to drive after 1 hour of our hostings. I was intoxicated. It was one of those things where your head feels too heavy on your shoulders and you could feel your heartbeat in temples. Anyways, he let me sit on his porch step and got me some water while I tried to figure out my transportation. With the remaining brain cells I had that weren't fried, I told him outright that I wasn't looking to hook up or anything, which he was understanding of. We sat and chatted and he played music to try to help and soothe the headache I had, which hadn't really helped if I were being honest. Then came the big question, if I wanted to come and sit down. So I did. There was this weird smell. It was like baby powder and vinegar and boiled pennies. It was faint enough to notice, but not strong enough to put me on my knees or anything. I felt a lot better when I sat down, and I managed to get a hold of my shift manager to come help pick me up. Guitar guy lived up the block from the cafe, so it was in walking distance. It shouldn't have taken her too long to come pick me up. I vividly remember him staring at me at one point after a really long pause, and I didn't really know what to say, so I thanked him for being kind enough to lend me a hand and look out for me. He was going to say something, but he got caught off guard when there was this random noise from one of the rooms in his apartment. It sounded like the bawling of a baby, and he immediately tensed up when he realized that I had heard it. I had some sort of brief clarity because I was surprised he hadn't mentioned that he was a dad to me earlier. You could imagine that I was flooded with a whole world of questions, and he tried to reassure me it was nothing. Now I think it was worth mentioning that I used to be a babysitter before I landed a more stable job. I guess in my drunken state, I got activated like a sleeper agent and insisted to be the infant. Who doesn't love the company of a baby? He told me to promise that I wouldn't freak out. I can still hear the tone of his voice clear as day when he said that. I had that familiar swell of being excited during my babysitter days of seeing a baby for the first time, and I followed him to the closed door. The bawling was a little more clear to me as I stood in front of it. He hung around outside of the room when I stepped inside, and it was just as you'd think, toddler toys and a cradle, stork paintings, the whole shebang. I will never get the image of what I saw out of my head when I walked up to the crib. The lamp by the bedside wasn't enough, so I was confused what I was staring at, just trying to wrap my head around the anatomy of the thing that laid snugly in pink, fluffy blankets with flowery embroidering. It was like a giant maggot, like a balloon of dark red flesh that wriggled and pulsated because it was too full. It looked like one of those tumors that grew teeth and mounds of hair, and the noises it made were gurgly, like it couldn't breathe. The smell, too. It was that same penny and baby powder stench, but it reeked. My heart sank down to my ass, and at the first moment, I could intercept my fear. I fucking booked it, which was difficult considering I practically hit everything on the way out of that apartment. I must have put up a good fight against air because I had bruised knees and arms the day after. The rush of adrenaline had carried me a good way down the block when I saw my manager's car and almost literally got ran over from trying to leap through the passenger window to get the hell out of there. What the fuck? Didn't feel like a real word by the time I managed to get home. I don't know what to think. Maybe I was hallucinating. Maybe I was just seeing things. It stuck with me. I feel like a different person now, after whatever the hell happened. I haven't seen Guitar Guy since. It was like he dropped off the face of the earth. No texts, no phone calls, nothing.